But it's what happened to me. When this was all coming down the pipe, I convinced some of my family not to take the vaccination. And other people in my family actually bribed my daughter to get vaccinated. And at that point, I really wondered if this was also bad or if it was also good, or where I stood or where it really was. What was really happening. I didn't know if I was a crazy conspiracy theorist like the rest of you, or if I just knew. I'd just shown some stuff. And so I prayed. I just asked for the truth to be revealed to me.
Oh boy,
And in the next 2 weeks, these things happened. The very next day, after this weekend of reflection and prayer, and I went to work, and one of the young gentlemen at work told me he needed to take the day off. He had a funeral to go to. He was 22, and his cousin, who was 21, had died. He said it was of COVID. And so he took the day off work on Wednesday, and he went to this funeral. It was either the day or the next day after, I met the new neighbors who moved in next door. And I talked to the lady that moved in, and she was maybe a little older than me, maybe 60. And she said, well, her son had got the needle that July, and the very next day went to the hospital complaining of heart attacks. Well, the reason this is important is when he went to the hospital, they took his heart rate. It was double what it should have been. Well, this was a young, healthy man. He worked out, he worked in construction, he had no health problems. So his heart rate was double. So they gave him lorazepam, checked it again 2 hours later, kept him there another hour. They checked it then another hour, and his heart rate was normal. So they said, you have anxiety, and they sent him home. So a couple of days later, again, he said he was told his mother he was having heart attacks. He drove him to the hospital. They gave him lorazepam, sent him home. Again, he went to the hospital. Again, they gave him lorazepam and sent it home. And the next time she decided she was going to take him in to see a doctor in Selkirk, Manitoba. But she didn't even get out of the driveway. He started having a grand mal seizure. So she went to the little local hospital. They gave him lorazepam, sent him home. The doctors were in total denial that these were vaccine injuries were happening. And finally, the next time he had a seizure, she took him to the Selkirk Hospital, and they diagnosed him with myocarditis and gave him an appointment 3 months later to see a specialist. In those 3 months, he lost 50 pounds. He's going blind, and his mother was having to help him in and out of the bathtub. This is just one of my friend's stories. Another local barmaid I knew who used to serve at the restaurant, she had symptoms where she was so sick, back aches, stomach aches, just flu-like symptoms, and she was having, and I just knew what happened. Something just asked me, I saw her and I'm going, like, how long have you been sick? And she just said a couple months. I said, can I ask you a personal question? What's your period like? She says it hasn't stopped in 14 days. I just knew, because I seen and I read. I started reading and I started seeing. And she was sick for 4 months. And the thing was, she said that what really bothered her is just a few days after she got her second dose, her boyfriend got sick who hadn't had a vaccine, and he got diagnosed with COVID and was in the hospital for 2 weeks. So there was that. And then my roommate, her sister was in her 60s, and she got really sick after she got her second dose. And Michelle begged her not to take that next dose. Michelle begged her. I heard the arguments on the phone. Don't do it. Just before Christmas last year, she took the third dose. A couple of days later, she was in the hospital for a week. They sent her home at Christmas, and by New Year's, she was dead. So that happened. Michelle's cousin, who become my best friend now, Shannon, was a nurse 25 years, and her boyfriend's daughter was 30 years old. Her name was Brittany Palmer. She was perfectly healthy. She got her first dose. She was dead 5 days later. And when Michelle asked for the hospital records, they denied her. At first, they gave her 1 page of her records. She says, "What's this? I'm a nurse. I know how to read these. I just want to see what happened to Brittany." And they gave her another half a page. She says, "No, I want the records." They said, "Get a lawyer." And it was listed as a COVID death. So was Fabian Bunn, the first gentleman I told you about. He's 21 years old, and they called it COVID. Well, I found out 2 weeks later that he would just had a second dose of Pfizer. He died 5 days after. But because he hadn't had his, the way it works is, and I found out it's very common around the hospitals in Canada, is if you haven't had your dose for 14 days, you're not considered fully vaccinated. So that's the way they can fraudulently get by. And this is only personal opinion, guys. But in our little town of 5,000 people, the first year and a half, between the beginning of 2020 and the middle of 2021, we had 1 death from COVID, and it was a woman who was 82 and a half years old. Within 2 weeks of when they started vaccinating people, there was 6 deaths in our town. 5 of them were labeled COVID. So if you want to know where they're getting their numbers and their statistics from, I'll let you do your own math on that. I'll let you make your own judgment. The fact is, it was pretty easily revealed to me. I saw with my own eyes. They you know, when we're asking questions, certain truths just can't be denied. These vaccines are killing more people than any kind of cold or flu ever could. And I'm as baffled as you guys as why we can't wake people up. As why people can't see it or they won't see it. You know, my own daughter who was bribed to get this shot, she's been sick 4 times. She's been on antibiotics for 2 months now. Her hair is starting to fall out. And now she's blocked me from talking to her because she doesn't want to hear it anymore. Well, I got to put it in God's hands now, right? But they can't hear it from us for some reason.
We live in 2 different worlds.
Yeah, so we all have to get together and we all have to find a way. We all have to find a way to open this up to people. And it starts with little things like our gathering today here, right? It starts with coming together, and I just thank God for my new family that I found here and all of you people. But this is, we know, people here know the truth. We know the truth of what this destruction that's happening here, right? And so I put down the names of everybody I knew that was hurt from the vax, and I drove a truck out from Winnipeg. And I've had everything from the police calls on me, people throwing rocks at me and cursing. But I've met thousands of people that appreciate what I've done. And the same of the people that I see here on a weekly basis, and some people come down, like I see Nate down here almost every night for 3 months. We have to, just because these mandates are, most of them are gone, doesn't mean we stop. Now's the time where we've got to be more visible. Now's the time where we're going to fight harder. Now the times where we're going to expose it. And I suggest, guys, the hospitals, Bonnie Henry's office, the news outlet the media, that's where we should be standing with our pictures and our, what about the vaccines and signs? I believe they're the key to our freedom. These people that are hurting right now, 60 to 70% of the people that are injured by the vaccine are in denial. That it was the vaccine that hurt them. So all those people, the hundreds of reports, thousands of reports we see online, the thousands of them, out of those thousands, there's 2 to 3 times more out there. But we got to reach out to those people. So, God bless.
Thank you for sharing.